Against all odds, even as the climate crisis seems more and more overwhelming, we are fighting to make sure everyone has access to safe, healthy food, clean, affordable water, and a livable climate. Against all odds, we are fighting huge corporate monopolies to protect everyday people. Against all odds, we are mobilizing to prove that we have the power to protect our families, our vulnerable communities, and our planet. And, against all odds, we have a history of winning.
That's the only way that we can make our democracy work, by shining light on the issues and having large numbers of people engage in grassroots action, and using those voices to hold elected officials accountable.
When we come together and that we believe it's possible, that's really powerful and something that will be really hard to stop.
Here are some of Food and Water Watch's biggest wins in history. Food. When the EPA allowed factory farms to hide from water pollution monitoring, we took them to court and won. Water. When Nestle tried to take water from communities in states like California, Oregon, Washington, and Pennsylvania, we stopped them from using water for corporate profits. We protected the basic human right to water. Climate. When people told us it could not be done, we banned fracking in New York and Maryland. Since then, cities and counties across the country have followed suit. Food and Water Watch was the first national organization to call for a ban on fracking. And now, we're building momentum toward a nationwide ban. The situation is urgent, and there's a lot more to be done. Especially now, when corporations are using their power to try to silence us. That's why we're working on multiple fronts in our path to victory. Organizing. In less than a year, we stopped 3 power plants in New York by overwhelming our opponents at protests and public hearings. And we stopped ExxonMobil from reopening 3 closed facilities off the coast of California. Legal action. We're holding the biggest corporate meat giants accountable for misleading the public about their dirty practices. Our lawsuits against Smithfield and Tyson's exposed their lies about danger to workers, animals, and the environment. And our work protects consumers, too. Legislation. We're building a group of climate champions in Congress and proposing new federal policies that would invest in our future. Research. At the same time, our researchers are working to expose how corporations and their paid mouthpieces are exploiting people and killing the climate. We know the system is stacked against us, but we also know we can change it. Food and Water Watch is on the front lines of these fights, and it's people like you who make it possible. Together we can protect our home against all odds.
Good evening and welcome to Against All Odds. Thank you for being here. I'm live in New York City, but it is so exciting to see so many people tuning into the live stream. We all know it's a really important year for activism. The unfolding tragedy with Hurricane Ian is another example of climate-induced disasters. We must stop the worst of climate change. We must push for policies that protect our food and water. And the midterm elections are just a few weeks away. We must raise our voices together and organize, organize, organize. And that's what we do at Food and Water Watch. We organize winning campaigns that set us up for the future. And we're working to support federal legislation, landmark legislation, that will protect people and the planet for generations to come. I believe we can do it against all odds. Thanks so much for being here this evening, and it's so exciting to see so many people tuning in. Thank you for all you do, and I look forward to working with you all in the future. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Jessica, and I am joining you from sunny Los Angeles, California.
Hey, everybody. I'm Trent, and I'm joining you from Ashburn in Virginia. Wow, it's so great to look out there and see so many people joining us from all over the country.
I know, it's so inspiring. And really, the fact that we're all here together shows the power of tonight's theme, against all odds. Climate change is the most pressing issue of our time. We're seeing yet another example of that this week with Hurricane Ian. We're thinking right now about the millions of people impacted by this devastating storm. We must act now to prevent climate change-induced disasters like this from continuing to affect communities. And I know sometimes it can feel like the odds are stacked against us, but we have the power to beat those odds together.
I know, right? I mean, when you sit back and really think about those odds, we go up against some of the biggest players out there: the oil and gas industry, factory farms, billion-dollar corporations trying to turn a profit off public water.
Exactly. But here's the thing, we take them on and we win. And it's because of the power of grassroots organizing, of mobilizing people all across the country to work together at the local, state, and national levels that we're able to take on fights like this and win.
So tonight, we're going to hear about some incredible victories from some of Food and Water Watch's organizers, volunteers, and dedicated activists, just like all of you. And we'll also get a sneak peek at what's next.
That's right. We are constantly pushing forward in our work, and we're ready to mobilize with all of you to keep doing everything we can to protect our food, water, and our climate.
Now, I want to take a moment to thank everyone here tonight, especially our sponsors. We're so grateful for your generosity. It's thanks to each and every one of you that our work is possible. Thank you. Now, with that said, let's give everyone a round of applause.
Tonight, we're asking our members across the country to raise the funds we need to keep doing what we do best. We are so grateful to the Menaki Foundation, which supports environmental work and was founded by two of tonight's honorees, Bill Gee and Sue Crothers and Nancy Hughes, for offering to match dollar for dollar every donation you make tonight up to $20,000.
$20,000? I just need a moment. That is simply incredible. Now, that means that for every dollar you give tonight, Food and Water Watch will receive $2. Your generosity will have doubled the impact. So, if you give Food and Water Watch $20, we will receive $40. If you give $100, Food and Water Watch receives $200. That's incredibly powerful for our work. At any point tonight, you can make a gift through the donate button you see at the bottom of your screen.
Or you can text benefit to the number 23321. We thank the Menaki Foundation and Nancy Hughes for matching gifts to Food and Water Watch. And we want to thank everyone who was able to make a gift tonight to support Food and Water Watch. So, should we hear from our first guest?
Are you kidding? I've been waiting for this all evening. So, first up is Megan McDonough, Food and Water Watch's Pennsylvania State Director, here to tell us about how she got involved and a precedent-setting win in her state.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Megan McDonough, and I am the Pennsylvania Director here at Food and Water Watch. One of the most common questions I get is how I got into this work, and if this is something that I always wanted to do. And my answer is no. I am what folks would call an accidental activist. My journey began when I was a stay-at-home mom with my first child, Josh. I had never heard the word fracking until a landman came knocking on my door one day and showed me a map of my neighbors who had signed leases on their property. And he told me that if I didn't sign, that they were going to take the gas anyways, and I wouldn't see a penny for it. If you ask anyone that knows me, they'll tell you that I am not the type of woman that handles ultimatums well. So I learned and read as much as I could, and that lease was never signed. Around this time, my neighboring municipality was already starting development with 2 well sites less than a mile from my niece's elementary school and a compressor station directly across the street from their t-ball field. It was around this time that my niece began having a lot of pain in her neck and stomach. My sister took her to get checked out, and our lives have really never been the same since. They told us she had contracted a condition where her lymph nodes became overworked, necrotic, and die, and that she needed surgery to remove the first cluster. The only cause that we were given was environmental factors. I had never felt so angry or helpless, but as we sat there, I knew that I had to do everything in my power to stop this from happening to others. So during this time, while continuing to deal with my niece's health, a frac gas power plant was proposed to be built in a residential zone close to my home and our elementary schools, exposing countless children to health risks. So I spent every minute of my time reading township code, ordinance challenges, case law, and studied the municipality's planning code, and really made sure that I knew that information better than any attorney that I had met up to that point. I started a grassroots organization of my own and led the fight to beat this billion-dollar corporation from building their plant in my hometown 3 times. To this day, no power plant has been built in my hometown, and we were the first township in Pennsylvania to successfully defeat a power plant proposal. So I've really dedicated my life to this fight because I know what is at stake. When we talk about fracking and fossil fuels, I think about my niece and my children and all the other children in Pennsylvania that are at risk. And we have to fight back, and we have to fight now. I joined Food and Water Watch in 2018 because I knew the most effective way to fight back in Pennsylvania was to start at the local level. And that's exactly what Food and Water Watch was proposing. So here I am. As state director, I help formulate strategies to defeat these corporate polluters and stop projects like these in their tracks. Earlier this summer, we had a major win, passing the first countywide anti-fracking initiative in Allegheny County. But actually, I am going to let our good friend, County Councilwoman Bethany Hallam, tell you a little bit more about that.
Hi, my name is Bethany Hallam, and I'm the at-large representative for Allegheny County Council in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. Everyone knows that Western Pennsylvania is no stranger to the oil and gas industry. But what they don't talk about is how it's also home here in Allegheny County to 1.2 million people whose drinking water and air they breathe is harmed by pollution from the industry. Additionally, there's thousands of acres of forest and green space that it's all of our duty to preserve. I first got involved with Food and Water Watch years ago when I saw that they were one of the few organizations who were on the ground in the streets, organizing and empowering local residents to stand up and speak out to oil and gas. They were putting people first. And the one thing I knew when I was starting out is that that's what really mattered. Going out and listening to people instead of talking to them. Going out and learning from your neighbors instead of always trying to teach them. So I knew immediately that Food and Water Watch was an organization that I wanted to work with. One of the most important things that I've accomplished since I've been on county council is a piece of legislation that we passed recently in huge part to the work of Food and Water Watch. I, along with a handful of my colleagues, really saw this as a priority for us as legislators, is to make sure that that air that our neighbors breathe and that water that they drink is protected from the oil and gas industry, and especially from the harmful practice of fracking. So we decided we were going to do what we could. And what that meant was banning the practice of fracking in our county parks. And we did it. All of us together. Not me or any of the other sponsors of the bill, not any one organization, not any one resident, but the hundreds of folks who came up, turned out, and spoke up for their community, for their environment. And Food and Water Watch helped make that happen. If it wasn't for them, we'd still be in the back rooms of county council fighting to figure out how to get this bill passed. But we tried and we tried and we tried again. And even after we passed the bill, our county executive vetoed it. And Food and Water Watch didn't give up, and so neither did we. We kept fighting, we kept showing up. And we actually gained a couple votes and were able to override our county executive's veto for the first time in over a decade. It was monumental. And so thanks to that effort, thanks to all of the people that turned out, we've banned fracking in over 12,000 acres across 12 watersheds in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's something that I'm so honored to have been a part of. And I know that there's so much work that we have left to do, but I'm just so excited to be on the team with Food and Water Watch and make sure we keep making progress happen.
Thank you so much, Bethany. As she said, this was a phenomenal win. And it's important to share because when people think of Pennsylvania, they think it would be impossible to ban fracking. But, here we are building power on the ground every day doing the impossible. Our work in Allegheny County has proved to be some of the most successful work in the state. Since we began, we have gone from 3 to now 24 municipal ordinances that prevent fracking and protect over 500,000 residents and their families from the threats of this industry. With further support, we can expand our critical work and continue to protect our land and our communities from further fossil fuel industry expansion. So I really hope that you will join us on this journey as we continue to build power in Pennsylvania to ban fracking statewide and ultimately across the country. Thank you.
What a powerful story. If you'd like to make a gift to further the important work Megan is doing in Pennsylvania, please click on that donate button below. And don't forget, all donations will be matched dollar for dollar tonight.
And as Megan said, the work that we're doing is building momentum every day. And the louder we get, the more legislators listen and take much needed action.
Agreed on that. I mean, that's why we've been working to get Congress to stop what we've been calling Manchin's dirty deal. Food and Water Watch has been one of the leaders in drawing attention to this dangerous deal.
That's right. Senator Schumer and Senator Manchin struck a deal to pass legislation that would fast-track permit approval for new fossil fuel infrastructure, like pipelines and gas exports. And part of that means taking away the public's right to learn about and comment on new fossil fuel projects. And it also means making it harder for regulators to do their jobs.
I mean, because the last thing we need is more fossil fuels.
I know. So we heard about this when a draft of the deal leaked to the public in July. Trent, do you want to know what was all over that draft?
What?
Watermarks from the American Petroleum Institute. So we know that this deal was clearly written by and for the fossil fuel industry.
And Food and Water Watch was not going to stand for that. So what have we been doing about that?
Well, we immediately went into rapid response mode to stop this from happening. So in just 8 weeks, we have recruited over 700 organizations to oppose the bill. We held sit-ins at the offices of Senator Schumer in New York, Senator Feinstein in California, and Senator Murray in Washington state. 26 activists were arrested in those acts of civil disobedience. We've coordinated with a coalition to hold a day of action on Capitol Hill that brought frontline community members together from places like Appalachia, the Gulf Coast, and the Midwest to meet with their members of Congress. And we ended that day with a huge rally outside the Capitol. We've also generated over 10,000 calls from constituents to their members of Congress, and we organize letter deliveries to dozens of congressional offices.
And I heard that just last week, the day after Manchin released the full text of the legislation, our executive director, Winona Howder, and 10 other environmental and frontline community leaders held a sit-in at Capitol Hill, demanding Senator Schumer kill the dirty deal. All 11 were arrested for civil disobedience. As Winona put it, if this deal's not worth getting arrested to stop, I'm not sure what is.
That's just incredible. We are so proud of Winona and everyone on the front lines of this fight to stop this dangerous deal.
We certainly have some of the best supporters around. They saw how urgent this was and they stepped up big time to make this happen. And you know what? It paid off. Manchin tried to attach this deal to a must-pass budget bill and in the hopes of forcing it through. But because we were able to generate so much public opposition to it, on Tuesday night, he announced he was withdrawing the bill.
This is a huge victory against the fossil fuel industry and something that most people didn't even think was possible. Our loud opposition to the deal shows that the power is shifting. Our fight against this pipeline deal was critical, but this is about more than just one senator. It's about all of us speaking up, holding our elected officials accountable, and fighting for a cleaner future.
And we will keep up that fight. There's still a chance that Senator Manchin will try again to pass this permitting deal, but we're ready. With your help, we will beat him once and we'll do it again. And by donating tonight, you help us keep up this type of work.
And no matter what, Food and Water Watch will not give up until we transition away from fossil fuels to 100% renewable energy. We recently had an important milestone here in California. We fought for and won a 3,200-foot setback regulation, meaning that all oil and gas facilities must be at least 3,200 feet away from homes, schools, hospitals, and other populated areas. We're still fighting for a full ban on fossil fuels, but this is a huge step in the right direction to protect the health of frontline communities and to phase out oil wells that don't meet this regulation.
And New York City had a major victory on this front too. Thanks to our team and hundreds of volunteers joining them to take action, New York City is moving to 100% electric energy because they ban fossil fuels in all new construction in the city. Let's hear from one of our most dedicated volunteers about this win.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Pope, and I'm a volunteer lead with Food and Water Watch. I've volunteered with Food and Water Watch since we successfully banned fracking here in New York State. I bring that up because I think that it fits so well with the evening's theme, Against All Odds, because that fight most certainly was, but we won. Now, I live here in Brooklyn, and I'm a general contractor with my own construction business, and we renovate residential and commercial buildings. Now, New York City, as you all know, is one of the biggest cities in the world, and it's responsible for 5% of the gas consumed in buildings nationwide. And the buildings are the source of 70% of the city's climate emissions. Now, as a contractor, I see these inefficiencies on a daily basis, and I also have seen firsthand how far the technology to move from fossil fuels has come. So I'm already working with clients to transition their buildings to 100% electric, and step by step, we're making ourselves off fossil fuels and towards a better and cleaner future. Now, we also know the terrible health impacts associated with continuing to use fossil fuels to power our buildings. We have air pollution, we have high rates of childhood asthma here. There's dangers from gas leaks, fires, carbon monoxide, and we've even had buildings explode. It's dangerous, it's needless, and we need to get off of it. And we knew this was possible. Now, in 2021, here in New York City, Food and Water Watch built a coalition that brought together residents from all walks of life in this city to bring an end to fossil fuel powered new construction. Once again, we were up against very stiff resistance from the powerful real estate lobby here, the fossil fuel industry. And I feel that if they're pulling out all the stops, you really know you're on the right track. So we testified at council hearings, we called our council members, we rallied, we petitioned, we got people on the streets to make these phone calls. And now, less than a year later, we did it. We actually passed a gas ban here in New York City. December 2021, our former mayor, Bill de Blasio, signed that legislation into law. So starting in 2024, all new construction in New York City will be off of fossil fuels. Now, we're already pushing this to the state level, and we're using these same techniques to bring this same legislation to New York State writ large. So I'd ask you all, as you're sitting here tonight, to make a contribution if you can, any kind, monetarily, make some phone calls, do what we can to keep this important work going. And I'd say, thank you very much. We can all do something, and we can all do it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, and congratulations. I know that with the support of volunteers like you and everyone here tonight, we can turn this citywide ban into a statewide ban. So who are we going to hear from next, Jessica?
Up next, we're joined by Chrissy Kasserman, Food and Water Watch's Factory Farm Organizing Director. Our food and our climate are so intertwined, and sadly, our current food system is dominated by factory farms and giant corporations that own and control a vast majority of the food we can buy at the grocery store. The way that our food is grown and produced is just not sustainable, and it contributes to climate change, but we're fighting this. Chrissy is going to tell us more about why this is so important and how we're making it happen.
Hi, I'm Chrissy Kasserman, Food and Water Watch's Factory Farm Organizing Director. I live on the Black River in rural southeastern North Carolina. Most of the time, the Black River is a beautiful, meandering stream lined in ancient forest, including 2,600-year-old bald cypress trees, the oldest in the world. In 2018, the Black River was in my living room, having risen 15 feet during catastrophic flooding from Hurricane Florence, a climate change-fueled superstorm that dropped up to 36 inches of rain on our area. The storm produced 10 trillion gallons of water, flooded thousands of homes, and caused $20 billion in damage. 50 people died. It was declared a 1,000-year flood event, but it was the second in only 2 years. Scientists attributed half the storm's rainfall to a warming climate. Our house was already on 9-foot stilts, but we still ended up with 5 feet of water in it. We lost nearly everything. Unbelievably, it gets worse. Eastern North Carolina is also home to millions of hogs confined in factory farms. The waste from these animals is stored in open lagoons, many built in floodplains. During Florence, nearly 100 lagoons leaked or flooded. 7 breached entirely, spilling their contents into the floodwaters and into people's flooded homes. One of these was upstream from us. Cleaning up a flood is dirty work, but cleaning up from floodwaters filled with hog waste is really dangerous. And this is the situation thousands of North Carolinians found themselves in. Many communities in Florence's path were lower income communities of color, among our state's most vulnerable. The threat of climate-fueled superstorms like Florence, combined with the dangers of factory farm waste, are more than any community should have to bear. Even 4 years later, many of these places have yet to fully recover. At Food and Water Watch, I work on our factory farm campaigns. So this experience only underscored the importance of our work for me. Climate chaos makes extreme weather disasters like Florence more and more common, and factory farming is a huge contributor to climate change. Food and Water Watch fights for bold solutions to the factory farm crisis. We're challenging the corporations that dominate our food system and have caused painful inflation. On behalf of consumers, we've sued price gouging companies that lie to turn a profit. And just this year, we worked with Senators Warren, Booker, and others to introduce an essential bill to halt new mergers in the food and agriculture sector, giving regulators a chance to do their jobs. Also, the Biden administration recently announced it would consider reforms to curb corporate power over our food system. This is a direct result of legal, organizing, and advocacy work that Food and Water Watch and others have been doing for years. We will build a food system without factory farms. We know it's possible. We're working alongside members and allies in states across the country to do this. We support independent farms and regional food hubs that produce food without ruining our climate, polluting our water, or harming our communities. We're building a national movement to ban factory farms entirely, and we won't settle for anything less. Against all odds, we're playing the long game, and we have a strategy to see it through. We know that winning a factory farm ban won't happen overnight, but day by day, month by month, year by year, we're making significant progress and building more and more power. Together, we will keep fighting for this future. I'm fortunate to be back home after 3 years of rebuilding. But for many, the tragedy of Florence continues. Hundreds of people still live in hotel rooms, with family, or in other temporary arrangements. We can and must do better. Hurricane Florence demonstrated the urgency and importance of Food and Water Watch's work to fight climate change and to ban factory farms, here in my community and across the country. With your support, we can win a safe and livable future for everyone, no matter the odds.
Thank you so much, Chrissy, for sharing your story, which is particularly relevant as we continue to hear reports of the damage done by Hurricane Ian. And thank you for all the work you, your team, and our volunteers are doing to make the way we grow our food more sustainable. Now, let's hear from one of our members, Dr. Stephanie Pokia, who has been involved in activism since her youth and is passionate about advocating for a safer, fairer way we grow our food.
I was about 9 years old, living in Las Vegas in the summer. So you can imagine it was hot. I was craving these, big, plump, juicy grapes. But my mom explained that we were boycotting grapes and lettuce in solidarity with farm workers who were fighting for better working conditions and fair wages. Hi, my name is Dr. Stephanie Pokia. I'm a retired school district administrator, and I'm currently consulting with the Nevada Department of Education. I'm also a founding co-chair of Slow Food Vegas, where we work to support access to good, clean, and fair food for all. Activism has been a big part of my life. Previous generations of my family were farm laborers, and they didn't have policies or regulations to protect their health and safety. They didn't have a big organization at the time that was fighting for fair wages for them. Now, today, we've got new additional crises that are demanding our attention. We've got rising temperatures that are causing droughts and devastating our crops. In fact, there's a NASA study that was published in Nature Food in November of 2021, and it reported that corn production is projected to decrease by over 20% by 2030. Wow, that should be a wake-up call for all of us. Climate change is also affecting our access to water. In a historic move by the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, they declared a water shortage for the Colorado River last year, first time in history. Then, just last month, they escalated it to a tier 2. This is requiring states to reduce their water allocations. And then last week, one of the commissioners said that we are at a tipping point and that urgent action is required. Although water conservation has improved, it's getting better, it only addresses the symptoms. It's really not addressing the causes. There's got to be a better way, right? So Food and Water Watch, they understand what's at risk. They see the big picture and they're fighting for us. So I'm a monthly donor for Food and Water Watch because I believe in the good critical work that they're doing. I would strongly encourage all of you to contribute to Food and Water Watch tonight. Even better, become a monthly donor like me. It is so easy. As Cesar Chavez said, you are never strong enough that you don't need help. Our planet needs Food and Water Watch. And Food and Water Watch needs you. So please, contribute, become a monthly donor, and together, my family and your family, we can make a difference. Thank you. Have a great evening and get into good trouble.
Gosh, I love that. Thank you so much, Stephanie. We are so grateful to you for your support and to all our monthly donors here tonight.
It's that type of consistent funding that lets us engage in these long-term fights. We know we won't change how our food is grown overnight, but through continued activism, no matter the odds, we will bring about the changes we need. Don't forget, you can make a gift tonight through the donate button or by texting benefit to 23321.
Okay, so I just got the word. Everyone's been so generous tonight. We have already raised $9,942 tonight.
Wow.
That's incredible. Thank you so much to everyone who has donated.
Oh my God, you guys are so amazing. I mean, that funding makes a huge difference, especially because every dollar of that is going to be matched by the Menaki Foundation and Nancy Hughes.
That's such a great reminder, Trent. So we have been talking a lot tonight about corporate consolidation. We have a special guest joining us now who is working in Congress to put a stop to this and to hold corporations accountable for their attempts to price gouge everyday consumers like us. So please join me in welcoming Congressman Jamal Bowman from New York.
Peace and love, everyone. It's Congressman Bowman here. I want to give a huge shout out to Food and Water Watch for all the climate organizing you are doing in New York City, New York State, and around the country. We need you now more than ever because the Inflation Reduction Act is not enough. We have to go bigger, we have to be bolder, and we have to continue to organize a grassroots movement across the country. Thank you for supporting me personally. Thank you for supporting the Emergency Price Stabilization Act so that we can hold corporations accountable to the inflation we're seeing across the country and the supply chain issues we are seeing as well. Listen, there are 350 million children across this planet who are hungry. We have to get climate change right. We have to get our food and water right and equitable and available and abundant for children and people all around the globe. So please continue to do what you're doing. I am right there with you. I got your back. You got my back. We have a movement to continue to build and grow. So peace and love. Be well, be safe, and let's get this done. Shout out to all the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Congressman.
And now we've come to a very exciting part of tonight's program. We're going to celebrate this year's honorees, 3 people who have dedicated themselves to uplifting the voices of activists and growing this important movement.
Elisa Gambino and Bill Gee and Sue Crothers are this year's honorees. Elisa is the filmmaker behind the new docuseries Wasteland, which is streaming now on Paramount+. Wasteland calls attention to our basic human right to clean water and sanitation.
Bill Gee and Sue Crothers are lifelong environmental activists, and through their work with the One Earth Young Filmmakers Contest, they provide a platform for youth to explore environmental problems and engage viewers in solutions.
So let's hear now from this year's honorees, and then we'll hear from some important members of the Food and Water Watch team, Chirag Bhakta and Kate Delaney, and incredible community activist Irvin Moreno Rodriguez, about how we're working to protect clean, affordable water for all.
We are so excited to be here today to honor 3 incredible people who are crucial to Food and Water Watch accomplishing our mission.
Our first honoree is Elisa Gambino, an award-winning filmmaker who worked closely with Food and Water Watch during the production of her docuseries, Wasteland.
We were inspired to produce Wasteland after I read a book about waste in Alabama. And so then we decided, well, what other stories can we do that might go along with this? And we started looking at waste in other communities and also in Iowa. Food and Water Watch just kept popping up. I mean, there were just so many articles that we would read and they were mentioned. And then the community where we wanted to go, of course, Emma. And so that's what happened. It was, I think, just their presence and their deep concern to change things. As a documentary filmmaker, we're always seeking positive impact with our work. And the Mount Vernon episode of Wasteland is a great example of how storytelling and sharing our voices can create impact. In Mount Vernon, the sewage system is decrepit. After the episode aired, the mayor of Mount Vernon shared it with the governor of New York, and the governor of New York quickly mobilized to create a $150 million grant to fix the sewage systems. And so let's never lose faith in our ability to tell our stories, and never lose faith in the fact that they might get in front of the people that need to see them. We found Food and Water Watch because they are constantly speaking up about these injustices. And had they not, I couldn't have done my job. If anyone deserves an honor, it's Food and Water Watch, and it's definitely Emma for putting herself out there and being so honest with us and so willing to give her time and her expertise and her drive to us while we were filming.
Thank you, Elisa, for the amazing work that you're doing to lift up the voices of people working to make the world a better place and inspiring others to do the same.
We would also like to honor two special people who have Food and Water Watch's mission at heart. Bill Gee and Sue Crothers are lifelong environmentalists. Together, they founded the Menaki Foundation that supports environmental and social justice activism. Sue is one of the founders of the One Earth Film Festival and is the founding director of the One Earth Young Filmmakers Contest. And Bill is a member of Food and Water Watch's advisory committee.
Hi, my name is Bill Gee.
And I'm Sue Crothers, and we are supporters and fans of Food and Water Watch. So the One Earth Young Filmmakers Contest tries to empower youth, not just by elevating their voice, but connecting them to activism. So in addition to their monetary prize, they also get a matching grant of the same value to give to the organisation of their choice. And Food and Water Watch has been a recipient of such an award, and the students have really been empowered by them because Food and Water Watch showed up at the awards ceremony to support the students. Food and Water Watch have invited a number of our filmmakers to a Zoom event so that they could screen some of the films, and then had the students talk about their films. So they really take the time to go that extra level to empower youth and also, to create activists like they are.
The climate crisis is here. I look at Food and Water Watch as a good investment to make because I'm investing in the actual, organization and where they fit in the ecosystem of trying to make change. And the return of investment, the return on investment that we get from Food and Water Watch, I think is, unmatched from a lot of organizations that we work with.
Food and Water Watch get out there and they try to change legislation, sign their petitions. If they're out there protesting, make a sign and go out and protest with them. Get their newsletter and stay informed. They do a lot of work and you can support them in so many ways than you can imagine.
Everything counts, right? Just any support you can give in any way.
So no more sitting on the sidelines. It's time to get into the game.
It does matter. It mattered in New York, it will matter in Iowa, it will matter in Florida, it will matter everywhere. Because we have the ability to affect change.
Wow, what powerful stories. Congratulations, Bill, Sue, and Elisa, and thank you for all your hard work. Hi, everyone. My name is Chirag Bhakta. Earlier this month, I joined Food and Water Watch as the California State Director. I actually first engaged with Food and Water Watch 15 years ago by purchasing my very first reusable water bottle from the Take Back the Tap campaign. So I'm excited to come full circle to lead our critical work to protect our water. As a Californian, I see firsthand the impact of climate change-induced drought and water abuses by big ag and big oil. Access to clean, affordable water is a basic human right. But at least 2 million people lack running water in their homes, 15 million people a year experience a shutoff due to unaffordable bills, and as many as 45 million people have unsafe water, something that impacts low-income and communities of color the hardest. In California especially, but nationwide as well, industrial agriculture is sucking up more than its fair share of water resources, drying up wells with no regard for residents to grow commodities they can sell for profit. The fossil fuel industry uses massive amounts of water for fracking and drilling, which not only wastes water, but pollutes clean water sources in the process and contributes to climate change. Wall Street and large corporations seek to exploit water crises and privatize our essential water systems. Recently, financial speculators began gambling with water in California, treating it like a commodity, not a public trust resource. And as we heard from Elisa Gambino and her eye-opening docuseries Wasteland, many communities don't have adequate infrastructure to keep our water clean and safe to drink. We face many threats, but our movement continues to grow, and Food and Water Watch is fighting for water against all odds on multiple fronts. Critically, we're partnering with communities to stop corporations from privatizing public water and sewer utilities. Let's now hear from Kate Delaney and Irvin Moreno Rodriguez, who built a coalition to successfully stop a private equity takeover of the wastewater system in Pleasantville, New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Kate Delaney, and I am a political organizer with New Jersey Food and Water Watch. Here with my friend Irvin.
Hi, everyone. Irvin Moreno Rodriguez, chair of El Pueblo Unido, an immigrant rights organization in Atlantic County.
And Irvin and I wanted to talk a little bit about our experience organizing together to stop the sale of Pleasantville's wastewater system. This fight was about keeping the sewer system of a small town in public hands. This is an issue that is below eye level for many people. Lots of people just flush the toilet and don't think about where that water goes. But it is an issue of water justice, environmental justice, and if the sale had gone through, it really would have caused a lot of pain economically in an economically disadvantaged community. So Irvin can talk a little bit about what life is like in Pleasantville.
Well, we were Pleasantville and Atlantic County in general was a town, an area that was hit hard after the 2008 recession, and in many ways we have not recovered. And cities are struggling financially, and Pleasantville is no different. And one of the ways that City Council wanted to come back from that financial sort of depthness was to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Bernhard Capital, which wanted to lease our sewer wastewater management system for 39 years.
Yeah, and this deal with Bernhard Capital, as Irvin said, would have been a very long-term lease. So this is something that future generations would have inherited. Bernhard is a company that's worth $2.5 billion. And we often call them just private equity vultures, that they have a tendency to prey on communities in need. They were only ever going to set up a shell LLC and grab at the public utility and leave. And we knew we needed to stop this deal. So we did a lot of organizing together, just getting people to City Council to tell them that this deal had to be stopped. And there was certainly a lot of outreach that Irvin and El Pueblo Unido could do uniquely that really was so essential.
We were able to organize effectively with phone banking. We were walking the streets. Flyers were produced in English and Spanish. According to the latest census, the United States Census, Pleasantville is 50% Latino. So automatically, because none of the City Council people did any significant outreach into the Latino community or put the meeting minutes out or anything in Spanish, you're already alienating 50% of the population, right? And that was an extremely, extremely difficult thing to try to rectify, but we did, and we were successful. The Food and Water Watch was instrumental in helping us organize. I'm not by any means an environmental justice expert, climate change expert, anything like that. I'm just a kid who loves his town, his community, and likes to speak up whenever he sees injustices. And at the end of the day, it was the people in Pleasantville who knew the contract better than the City Council themselves. So, that just shows you the quality of leadership that Food and Water Watch provided to us. And if you give people the option They understand what's going on, right? We were kept in the dark as a community, for whatever reason, whether they thought that, whatever the powers may be could pull one over on a community that was already struggling. I don't know, but so thankful for everyone who came out and helped us in this victory.
For me, it was, just a really exciting and in some ways unlikely win, but again, just highlights the power of organizing, people coming together to defend their public water and defend their communities.
Yes, and here, cheers to future victories. Count me in for the next battle.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kate and Irvin. Their story is so important because it really shows the power of collective action and how together we can overcome the odds and take on big corporations just like this. And this is just one example of many. Food and Water Watch is fighting water privatization all across the country. In addition to these local fights, we're also working at the state and federal levels to fundamentally change policies that govern our water and water infrastructure. We've been working in Congress to build a powerful coalition of over 100 congressional members to support the Water Act. This bill, which Food and Water Watch helped get introduced, would provide federal funding to ensure communities have access to clean, affordable, and publicly controlled water. And we're working with Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Ro Khanna on another critical piece of legislation called the Future of Water Act, which would stop water from being exploited as a commodity. In California, we've produced hard-hitting research demonstrating the water abuse by big ag and big oil, and have begun ramping up a campaign to move Governor Newsom to exercise his executive authority to rein in these industries. In the coming year, we will continue to build this effort so that California's water is managed in the public interest rather than that of large corporations. Together, we're taking on corporations and keeping water in the public hands. With your support, we'll continue to stop privatization efforts and move essential legislation. We know we can build a future where everyone has access to safe, affordable, public water. And with your help, we can get there. You can make a gift right now. Our generous donor will match up to $20,000 tonight. So please help us reach that goal. Your gift helps us work on the ground alongside communities like Irvin's and to keep building the political force needed to pass this legislation. Thank you for all your support. And now I'll pass it back to our host.
Thanks so much, Chirag. It's really incredible to hear how residents are standing up to huge corporations like this and winning.
It really is. And here's another great story about beating the odds. Earlier this month, Food and Water Watch worked with a coalition of residents in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, to stop the largest privatization deal in the country. The coalition was called Neighbors Opposed to Privatization Efforts, or wait for it, NOPE for short.
That is a simply perfect name. And that's exactly what we told Aqua, the company trying to take over the country's water and sewer authority. The deal would have jacked up prices for residents, taken away local control, and threatened local jobs and pensions. It could have had huge negative economic impacts on this community.
But by rallying together, going to county commissioner meetings, making public comments, sending emails to local officials, and more, we got the county commissioners on their side and ultimately forced Aqua out of this deal. This sets another powerful precedent for future privatization fights.
We simply have a track record of beating these corporations. Our work will make them think twice before trying to force their way into other cities. And even if they do, we know how to beat them.
Exactly. We have the right strategy, but it also takes resources, which all of you are so generously contributing tonight. And it takes volunteers too.
So much of what we do is only possible because of our incredible volunteers. People like you who step up, pitch in, and help us mobilize.
Volunteers make calls, send texts, write letters, show up at rallies, meet with their elected officials, give testimony at public hearings, and so much more.
Let's hear from some of our incredible volunteers now.
Many of us have been part of campaigns where we were told it would not be possible to win them. But then through persistence, through good strategy, through lots of hard work and the amazing work of our volunteers, we have been able to win those campaigns.
Here in my home county of Ventura, after 3 years of organizing, we were able to stop that oil well expansion. And when we were bringing people that live next to the oil wells out to these hearings and they're giving their firsthand accounts and their personal stories, they had the most impact on the decision makers. The elected officials even told us they'd never heard from this many people from the community or never really realized what these small decisions are having big impacts on people's daily lives. So we can make change, and it's going to be hard, but we just have to be persistent and we have to be vocal.
We need to realize that our role in government goes beyond voting. I see this every day working with our organizers. Everyday people making phone calls, sending texts, showing up at meetings, making public comments. And that's, to me, that's what gives me hope that we can make the change that we need to have happen.
I think research is an important part of Food and Water Watch's work because the research team can really kind of aggregate case studies from across the country and the world to provide the organizers with what it is they need to further their mission.
One thing that I'm really proud of that my legal colleagues have accomplished is we sued EPA saying that they were violating the Federal Clean Water Act by not requiring CAFOs to monitor the water quality surrounding their operations, and we won. It will have broad implications across the country for how factory farms are regulated, and it will arm communities and concerned citizens with the information that they need to ensure that the water surrounding their homes is safe.
Energy Transfer had spilled 28,000 gallons of drilling fluid into the lake. And when Josh Shapiro was coming to make some announcement at the lake, I was behind him. He couldn't see me as much as the press could that were recording him. But I felt like it got our message out to the public that the permits needed to be pulled and that they were paying to pollute. We call ourselves the ninjas, the pipeline ninjas, because we were out there fighting, and it's a pretty special thing.
I am involved in a lot of other organizations, but this one goes out into the community and engages people where they live, doing the face-to-face, people-to-people contact. That's what I like about Food and Water Watch.
I volunteer because I want to make a better world. One of the things that gives me great hope as a volunteer with Food and Water Watch is that we are growing. We are building a movement.
I really, enjoy going to the different places, going to different politicians' offices. And it's important. They work for us and, we need to get things done.
Every year, we sponsor a bill to introduce a moratorium on factory farming. With Food and Water Watch's help, every year we get more legislators to co-sponsor. And so they've been very helpful in teaching us how to move bills through the legislature.
My favorite part of working with Food and Water Watch is definitely meeting new people. And I think that's also something that gives me hope is seeing all these people show up for issues that affect them and their community.
And that's really what we do at Food and Water Watch. We have a long vision about what needs to be done. We are uncompromised in speaking to what needs to be done. And then step by step, we work and have the victories that you need to get there.
Fight like you live here, because you do.
Wow. Shout out to all of our incredible volunteers. Let's give all of our volunteers here tonight a round of applause.
Oh, that's just so wonderful to see. And now we have a special treat to close out the evening. But before we do, though, I wanted to share that there is still time to make a gift tonight to help us cross that finish line and meet our goal. We're so close. Every dollar makes a difference. We really can't thank you enough. So now I'd like to ask dedicated Food and Water Watch supporter and advisory council member Marilyn Allen to introduce our final guest for the evening.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Allen with Food and Water Watch. I'm a volunteer, and I got involved a few years ago when I was exposed to their mission and their vision and their results and their grassroots teams, which are so impressive. We've had so much bad news lately about the fact that so much of our environment is being ruined, and it can be hard to be optimistic. But the successes that Food and Water Watch have achieved are inspiring, and they give me hope. Some of the things that they are working on, they are upholding pollution regulations that had been torn down. They're closing down fossil fuel pipelines all over the country. And they're also helping to control and limit the amount of corporate exploitation of our public water supply for profit. This is really something that's relatively new, and it's very disturbing to find out. Being a part of this organization makes me feel a part of something larger than myself. And it makes me feel like I'm within a community of caring individuals that are working together to really bring changes that are needed in this country. We have to have hope. We have to have hope. And I want you to all think of something that gives you hope or inspiration, whatever it might be, and put it in the chat for all of us to see. And in the meantime, it's my great pleasure to introduce Ada Limon to you. She is the 24th Poet Laureate of the United States, the author of 6 books, one of which has won an award, the National Book Critics Circle Award. It's called The Carrying, and her latest book is called The Hurting Kind. I hope you enjoy it. She's going to read a poem of her own right now for you. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Ada Limon, and I just want to praise all the wonderful work that Food and Water Watch is doing. I deeply believe that we need to repair our relationship with the earth, and I would like to just read a poem that I think speaks directly to some of the emotional context that we have around our broken relationship with the planet. Salvage. On the top of Mount Pisgah, on the western slope of the Mayacamas, there is a madrone tree that's half burned from the fires, half alive from nature's need to propagate. One side of her is black ash, and at her root is what looks like a cavity hollowed out by flame. On the other side, silvery green broadleaf shoots ascend toward the winter light, and her bark is a cross between a bay horse and a chestnut horse. Red and velvety like the animal's neck she resembles. Staring at this tree for a long time now, I am reminded of the righteousness I had before the scorch of time. I miss who I was. I miss who we all were before we were this, half alive to the brightening sky, half dead already. I place my hand on the unscarred bark that is cool and unsullied, and because I cannot apologize to the tree, to my own self, I say, I am sorry. I am sorry I have been so reckless with your life. Thank you And thank you for all the good work you do.
What a powerful message. I just love that poem. It made me think of the horrific wildfires that California has seen over the past few years and how many people have been displaced from their homes. Fixing this wild imbalance in our natural world is 100% a motivation for me to come to work every day.
And it's also inspiring to see all the messages in the chat from things that give all of you hope. I'm seeing things like people hearing about all the successes of Food and Water Watch gives them hope. Another person says that their kids give them hope because they are so much ahead of where they were at their age and that they can make change happen. Another person says that organizers and volunteers give them hope. And another person even said that they get hope from their 3-year-old daughter who tells them that water is life.
That is so sweet.
As I'm going through all of this, I can only be moved to share what gives me hope. And that happens to be the spirit of togetherness that all of us are bringing right now, here in this moment, gathering for one specific cause, and that is to stand up for this one planet that we live on.
Oh gosh, Trent, you're going to make me tear up. Oh my goodness. As we close out the evening, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight for Against All Odds. We want to thank everyone who has already made a gift tonight.
There is still time to make a gift tonight. Every dollar of that will be matched by our generous match sponsors, the Menacke Foundation and Nancy Hughes. Thank you to all of our supporters, to everyone who donated, and to everyone who joined us tonight. We are grateful that you're part of our community.
It's because of each and every one of you that we've been able to achieve the victories that we shared tonight.
And it's the reason why we know we will keep winning. Against all odds, it's the power of community.
Thank you for everything. Together, against all odds,
we'll fight like we live here. Have a great night.
Have a great night.